Hey Jackalls, so now when usually in comedy TV shows they make an intro, they freeze frame it, add an outline to a person, they add a name, and maybe add a silly punchline, well that's what we'll do today, in DaVinci Resolve. Now let's get digital. So to make an effect like this, the first thing that you need is a clip. I have a clip that is this one. It's a person walking along a log. So what you need to do is find the spot that you want to freeze frame. Let's say that this will be the spot. You can right click on a clip and choose real-time controls or press the shortcut. Then once this opens up, you'll simply click on it and choose freeze frame. And this is the part that is frozen. You can extend it. And if you want the video to continue playing after it's unfrozen, you can simply leave it as is. Otherwise, you can position the playhead anywhere in the freeze frame and simply drag the end to the playhead. Now before you go into the fusion page to make the effect, what you can do is cut the clip where the freeze frame starts if you don't want to make an animation while the object is moving, or in this case the subject. So you can go here, press Ctrl B to cut it, and if you go into the fusion page now, you'll see that we only have one frame, which is not what we want. So we have to go back and make a new compound clip. And now with the clip selected, if you go into the fusion page, you can see that we have a lot more frames than just one. So go to the beginning of this clip and we'll add some nodes. You can do this effect in a couple of ways, but I'll show you how I do it. You need a background node, set the opacity for alpha to 0, so that this is transparent. We need the merge node, connect the background to the background of the merge and the media into the foreground. Then we'll need a mask. I'll simply use an ellipse for now. And if I display this on the left, you can see that the ellipse masked out the media in. But in this case, what we want to mask out is the object or the subject. So for that, we'll use a polygon. You don't need to connect it just yet. It can be disconnected so that we can see what we're doing. Then you can simply zoom in and start clicking around the subject. You have to make this selection as best as you can so that it looks nice. And I'll speed this up a little bit. Now I didn't do it the best job, but you can go back and just adjust the points if you need to. So maybe something like this. We can now connect this to the mask of the merge. Let's see. It looks okay. Now we need a second merge node and put it to the media in, and this will go on top of it. Now we don't see any changes in the media out on right because this is in the same position. But if I go to the merge 2 and simply adjust the position, you can see that we have the subject masked out. Now that we have the subject masked out, we want to add a border around them, but the border has to be beneath this cutout and above the background layer. So this will be inside here. We'll use another merge node. This now has to be the foreground, so this will be on the top and this will be behind it. What will be behind it? I'll be using the paint node. So use a paint node, and to actually see something, I'll use a background node. This background node will also be transparent. Connect it to the paint and connect the paint to the background of the merge. Now the paint node selected and with the polyline stroke selected, we'll make another outline. You don't have to be as precise, but this will then determine the border shape. So I'll just make it like this, outside of the cutout, just so you see the difference, what this will do. So we have an outline, and as you can see, this point, because I moved it out, it looks off. So I'll just put it back inside. Now in the brush controls, we'll want to use, well, either adjust the softness, if you use this option, or use the solid one, and adjust the size, and change the color to what you want. And if need be, you can also adjust the opacity. Now what I'll do for the animation is I'll go to frame 10, position the end of right on function to the beginning, and keyframe it. And then maybe this animation will end in 15 frames, so 25 in total. And I'll put this all the way to the end. So now we have the animation. What you can do then is, if you want to make the subject pop out a little bit, is you can add the transfer node here. It's not needed, but it looks nicer because you have access to the pivot point. So add the transfer node here, and maybe from this point on, 25, we'll increase the size, and the size can be increased all the way till the end by not much. And now I'll simply increase the size, but as you can see, it increases from the center position, from this point. And it's the same if you use the merge node, but the merge node doesn't have access to the pivot point. So I'll simply now adjust the pivot point to go to the foot or the bottom of the legs. So I made some quick adjustments, and if you look at the animation, it looks like this. So we have that done. Now I'll add some text. So we have the text node, and simply connect it to the merge to get a new one. And that's basically it, what we need. So let's add the text that I had. So this will be the straightening text. Position it how you want. Then go to the shading. You have a couple of options here. This is the selected element one, which is basically the text. And you can enable up to 8 elements in the second one. And this is the only one that I'll use. I'll enable it. And by default, we have the outline enabled. I don't want that. I want to enable the background. So in here, you will want to change the level. Currently, this is set to character, and each character has its own background. How you can easily tell if a character has its own background, you can go back to the text and increase the tracking. As you can see, each character has its own background. So we don't want that. So let's change this level from character. Now if you have words, let's simply go to tracking again. You can see this is split to words. We have the text, which is everything, and so is the line. But if I had multiple lines, each line would be separate, as you can see. But the text covers the whole text. So depending on what you have, you may need to use different options. So I'll add some roundness now to this. We can also extend it and make it shorter if you need to. I'll change the color to be the same as this one. Because I'll be moving this around, I could use the motion blur option, but in this case I'll simply use the softness and adjust the X value by ever so slightly, maybe something like that. And before I start making the animation, I'll add a transfer node so that I can adjust the pivot point to the bottom left side. Something like that. And now we can animate the size, just like that. So let's see how the animation looks like. So maybe when it comes to the end, this will go from here, and the size will be pretty much 0, like that. And we can rotate the angle and also center position this. Then it will jump out, maybe 6 keyframes, increase in size. So this is currently the animation, but I need to position this outside. So let me grab that, maybe something like that, and adjust the size. Now with any kind of animation, you can go to the spline and adjust how the animation behaves. In this case, I can go to size, click fit to fill, and hit S to smooth things out. And now for the actual text animation, let's go here. This pumps out, so maybe this will be the start of the animation when the text starts rotating around. And what we want to do, well, we have a couple of ways to do this. One is in the layout. we can rotate the y-axis. So maybe we can do that. So let's rotate the y-axis. In 6 frames, the animation will be done. So 180. But now as you can see, the text is upside down, so we have to fix that. But before I do, let's just switch what the text will say. So maybe the text will disappear at this point. So go to the text, keyframe this, and on the next frame we'll say something else. So now we have the text Tinkerbell walking, but we need to change the direction of the text from this point on. So to do that, we can go to the Transform tab, and as you can see here, we have characters. And if you go to the rotation and adjust the y-axis, you can see that the letters flip around. Now if you want to switch individual letters, this is one way to do it. But instead of characters, I'll simply choose lines. But you can also switch individual words if that's what you want. So from this point on, now you also have to take note of the animation, how it goes. So you go from right to left. So this also has to go from right to left. So this will be 180 at the end. Keyframe this. So we have the text at the end positioned correctly, but now we have to fix it at the beginning. What you might want to do is keyframe 0 at the beginning, and it looks okay, but in between it doesn't look okay. Now why is that? Well, that's because we use the layout to animate both the text and the background. And because we use then the transform to animate the lines, we're basically transforming the lines twice. So instead of doing this, what we have to do is keyframe also this position and keyframe it at 0. So from this point on, everything looks nice. And then from this point on, we'll use 180. And just like that, we have the animation. Now you can simply repeat this process for as many times as you want when it comes to the text. So you can simply just keyframe when the text should change, like I've shown you at this point, and how you can also animate the background and the text. Instead of using the layout, which animates both the text and the background at the same time, you can use the transform by using the lines to animate the text. And then in the shading, you'll want to select the background, in this case it's number 2, and go to the rotation and animate the rotation separately of the background. And then if you have multiple objects or subjects, in this case I've also done it with the dog, you can see that I've basically copied these nodes for the person and pasted them for the dog. You'll just have to replace the polygon and the paint node to match the new subject. If you take a look how the text is done, I have simply switched it around, flipped it a second time, scaled it down using the transform node, and then the text switches at this point, and when it finishes, almost, this animation happens. And that's basically it. Now if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more DaVinci Resolve and video editing content, and hit the bell notification icon so you know when my next video comes out. I'm Simon, and until next time Jackalls, keep it digital.